Fight Night, Adesanya, Imavov. Or should we just call it Fight Morning? Since
Fight
it's
morning.
morning.
Yeah.
Welcome. We're going to break down UFC Fight Morning, Adesanya, Imavov. No, just kidding. Welcome, everybody. Andy and Jim from Winning in the Shadows. Hope everyone's having a great week. We're going to break down all the fights, and we're going to get to our woulda, coulda, shoulda, and parlay buster at the end of the show. So, as always, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the Discord channel. You guys know what to do. Welcome, everyone, to UFC Fight Night, Adesanya Imavov breakdown. Let's get right to it. Leave a comment in the comment section. Tell us who you like. I think this is a bettable card. I think there's a ton of different bets that a bunch of people are going to be making. So I want to hear your best bet in the comment section because this is a fascinating card from a betting standpoint. As always, if you don't have a hot take to put in the comment section in honor of Jim and the night he's having, power. The power has been out in Jim's area forever. So just came back on. So if you don't have a hot take, just type the word power in there. So Jim, let's get right into it. We're starting off with Jamal Pogues and Hamdy. Abdelwahab, and I'm just here to say, Hamdy, if you're watching, you owe me money.
Yes.
You owe me and a lot of people Monday, you steroid taking mofo. If you don't know what we're talking about, years ago we bet against Hamdy because, well, he's awful. And coming into that fight, he had fought 3 actual real MMA fights. One of them against a guy who was 0-0, a 3-2, a 4-4. He had terrible cardio. And he fights Dontel Mays, and this cardio magically out of nowhere shows up. We lose our bets, and then he gets popped for everything. And he can't even get away from it. It's popped like 2 years later. So literally, Jim, this guy we have not seen fighting since July of 2022. He's fighting Jamal Pogues, who isn't the greatest in the world. I'm all over Jamal Pogues in this fight. I'll let you do a little bit of breakdown, but also kind of explain why Hamdy is fighting on this card.
Well, the last time Hamdy fought, I was childless and
Right.
3 years less married and go down the road. If we go back and look at our first breakdown of Hamdy, both of us have way less gray hair. That's for sure. It's been that long. So that can give you an idea of why he's been out. So Hamdy's on this card because why? Because we're in the Middle East. It's just the way that UFC is doing things now. So they're going to pull these fighters out. They're going to pull them back in. I have something that maybe you don't know on this.
Okay.
So I believe that this fight is going to fall into one of our theory categories. Hamdy's got a little side hustle going.
Oh, I didn't know this. Okay. All right.
Hamdy, in his years off, he's done a little competition. Couple bare knuckle boxing fights in there, I believe, as well. But he's got 2 restaurants.
Oh, I didn't know about this.
He's got 2 restaurants that that he runs or that he owns. So we have a little side hustle going on. I think he's kind of using that name, that UFC name, to get a little bit of a side hustle going here. So possible side hustle theory to start the night.
All right. Now I love Jamal Pogues even more because I like Pogues just from a fight aspect of it. So now that you give me the side hustle theory, yeah, I'm all in on Jamal Pogues.
First things first, we look at the experience: 11-4 versus 3-0. Now, granted, everybody's going to hem and haw about Hamdy's Olympic wrestling, but now keep in mind that it is Greco-Roman wrestling. It is not folk style American wrestling. Very, very different Olympic grades there. Okay. Really, who's the last great Greco-Roman UFC fighter? Only one that comes to mind to me is Randy Couture, and we're talking.
Oh yeah, I was going back
over
to
2 decades ago.
And
yeah, we're going like 2 decades ago. So I don't really put a whole lot of stock in this wrestling. Now, Hamdy does have an absolute brick for a head. Will it be a brick for the head without steroids? Is he on steroids still? These are all questions that have to be answered. I think we'll have them answered at weigh-in time. I think we can know pretty much by looking at him, which has been a great read of ours lately, is, bet on the back knee. So we need to take a real close look at weigh-ins here and see what he looks like. If he looks like he's on the sauce, we got to bet on the guy with the sauce. If he's not,
Yeah.
it's Jamal Pogues all day and twice on Sunday. Very simple.
Yeah, you're gonna laugh. I've done well betting on Jamal Pogues, who's terrible, but he's just a big, rough and tough, bruising guy that is really hard to take down. I will say that about him. He knows how to stuff takedowns. He doesn't throw a ton of volume, but when he does throw, he's just got really big arms, and when it lands, it thuds and it does some damage against these guys like Josh Parisian and Thomas. Petersen. This fight against McParkin could have gone anyone's way. I mean, we literally could be looking at 3-0 Jamal Pogues. So I don't think the wrestling's going to happen for Hamdy. Pogues is just way bigger. But Pogues was at 205. Now he's fighting at 265. This guy's big. And I just don't think Hamdy has what it takes. I mean, I went back and watched that Dontel Mays fight, and I just forgot how bad Mays is at stuffing takedowns. Pogues is fine at that. I don't think Hamdy's going to get him down. The Olympic wrestling, give me a break. I don't buy it. So I got Pogues all day in this one.
It's a wait and see for me. I got to see Wayne's to really make a decision there. Keep your eyes glued to Twitter. I'll let you know.
Bogdan Grad and Lucas Alexander. We watched Bogdan Grad put on a really good fight, really entertaining fight against Michael Aswell on Contender Series. You got Lucas Alexander, who's 8-4, and not really sure what to do with it. Where do you stand on? Let's start with Lucas Alexander. Where do you stand on Lucas Alexander? Got knocked out by Sargi.
I think that Lucas is way better. He's not as good as people say he is. I think he's very overrated. I hate to say this, but I think people get very confused by these random Brazilians, these Brazilian creative characters, where you're like, wait, who's this guy? Who's this guy? I thought he was so and so. You get very confused. I get confused looking him up even. I just think that people think he's better than what he is. There's nothing that jumps off the page to me. Supposedly he has this massive kickboxing career where he's got over 80 plus fights and blah, 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 blah. Well, okay, who are you kickboxing and where are you kickboxing them? Anybody can have a crazy record, If you're kickboxing, you're running smokers on a Friday night at a kickboxing gym. With those who don't know, smokers is everybody shows up and they fight. That's pretty much what it is, whoever wants to go. So if you're counting those against your record, I'm not going to put a whole lot of stock in them. If you're fighting in Glory, you're fighting in K1, you're fighting in Thailand, then I'm going to believe you about your kickboxing record, and it's going to be on record. So I think it's a little fraudulent, this whole big, giant record that he has. Not really a fan of his ground game. Don't believe he has any threats there. Think that's where he's lacking the most. So a mediocre stand-up fighter with a curious chin and a suspect ground game is not going to get my money. On the Bogdan Grad side, we were blown away on Contender Series by what we saw from him. Now, what's the big question we've been asking ourselves? Is it the real Bogdan Grad? Because what we saw, the 8 fights beforehand, was not what we saw on Contender Series the second time around. So that's the big elephant in the room to try to figure out. Is this new Bogdan Grad what we're going to get, or are we going to revert back to the old way? If we get the low-volume Bogdan Grad, he's in trouble. If we get the high-volume one, I think he finds a finish in round 2 or round 3. I think he can overwhelm Alexander with his striking. So I'd love to hear your breakdown before I bring up the other elephant in the room in this fight.
Well, it's Bogdan Grad. Like I thought you said, I thought you brought up a great point. If we get the Bogdan Grad previous, like he has a bunch of finishes, but you go watch it, it's low volume, it's not a lot of energy, and he's just knocking out bums. So he gets to this fight against Tom Nolan, and he gets nuked into orbit. And honestly, that loss is looking worse and worse. Tom Nolan is not looking that great, in UFC. But credit to him, he was a lot more active in his fights after that. And then against Michael Aswell, he's throwing a ton. Now, he left himself open and he did get hit. But it was like he was just like, I'm leaving it all on the table, throwing a lot of volume. And what happened, it was a really good, close, entertaining fight. All that Aswell put on a good performance. I didn't think there was any shame in that loss. So, yeah, if we get him throwing that many punches, yeah, he's going to win because I'm with you. Lucas Alexander, and you're right, he doesn't have a ground game. I believe it was Petersen where Petersen was on his back, and instead of engaging and jumping on him, he wanted him to stand up, which that's fine. But that's your story right there about, can this guy go to the ground? He can't. He doesn't want to. So you're not going to see that. And if his chin is suspect, I mean, this knockout against Sergei was so bad. They had a scramble. And he turns around and he just stuck his chin right out there, and it got touched, and he was unconscious. So, we haven't seen him in a while, man. This is a year and a half. I'm with you that he doesn't look that great. 8-4 when you're in the UFC, it just isn't that great of a record. And I know this is Bogdan Grad's UFC debut, but I'm assuming you're going to talk about the gloves. That was another thing on Bogdan Grad's contender series. He was using the newer, older gloves. Like what do we call them? The ones where they called them the new gloves.
Knockout gloves.
We'll
call them the safety gloves.
Okay, the safety gloves. Yeah, so he used the safety gloves, and it's hilarious to watch them. You don't realize how big they were and how hard it was to knock out people. So I wonder if there's a knockout in that contender series fight if they're using, the other gloves. So Bogdan Grad's going to be the pick for me. It's not a very confident, strong, I'm going all in on this one, but I just don't believe in Lucas Alexander at all. I don't see his upside. Beating Steven Petersen as your claim to fame in UFC just doesn't do it for me. So, I mean, I just get knocked out by Sergei is just horrible. So,
well, the under 2.5, yeah, that's where I was kind of leading towards this is new gloves, new old gloves, knockout gloves, under 2.5. If we do get the volume of Grad, I think he can knock out Alexander. If Grad's chin looked fantastic because of the safety gloves.
I didn't think about it that way.
Right? So
that's a great point.
If he's going to get touched up that many times, if both of these guys are going to get touched up that many times, I like the under. Here's the elephant in the room for me. This line movement on this fight has swung dramatically.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know what to make of this. I don't know.
This was minus 130. This was minus 130 at the beginning of the week. So
that's a big line move
for Grad.
A really big line move. So he's holding strong at plus 100 now. I wonder if this is a method by the books to sway you into betting Grad and give you plus money on Grad. So I got my red flags up here. It's enough to keep me off it. I think the safest play is going to be the under 2.5 or fight doesn't go the distance. I think somebody's going to sleep in this fight.
Yeah, you got to believe Grad. He gets the contract on Contender Series. It would be just a terrible idea in this weight division to come out and not throw a bunch of volume against a guy that's really beatable. So I'll take Bogdan and Grad. Jim will take the under on this one. But again, not very strong opinions on that one. Jasmin Jasudavicius, pretty big favorite against Mayra Bueno. Silva, what's your take on this?
This fight stinks. This fight absolutely stinks. Nobody is going to run roughshod through their career and not have losses sprinkled across the way. And Jasmin has been on an absolute tear. And we've made some great money on Jasmin. So no love lost there. I love it. Love the tear that she's on. But let's take a look at this competition that she's fought here. Gabriela Fernandez, very, very limited fighter. Ekes her way through a decision. Unanimous, but never in trouble. Miranda Maverick. This is the big red flag fight with Jasmin, and we've used this fight to analyze what especially Miranda Maverick fights and bet on Miranda Maverick is there was a nasty eye poke in the first round of this fight, and Miranda was fighting and she couldn't see. So easy decision win for Jasmin. Very, very undersized fighter in Miranda Maverick. Should have been very content there. Losing to Tracy Cortez means that you are a basic fighter, in my opinion, because Tracy Cortez is a basic fighter. I think we've seen that when she's taken any step up in competition, there's trouble. Do I have to break down Priscilla Cachoeira?
No.
I don't, right? The worst ground game possibly in women's division history. Okay. Fatima Klein, short notice, down a weight class, UFC debut. And Fatima takes her to decision. Fatima in a full training camp and at the right weight class runs through her opponent, Dudakova, in the last fight. The Ariane Lipsky fight was good. That's one that I will give her 100% credit for. Lipsky was on a good run. and she seems to be derailed at this point. This is the toughest test that Jasmin is going to fight, physicality wise. And unfortunately for Jasmin, her strength is going to play into Mayra Bueno Silva's strength. Silva stinks at takedowns, but Jasmin is going to take her down. So she is going to afford opportunities for Mayra Bueno Silva. This is down a weight class for Silva. I don't really want to bet on Silva, but I think I found an angle. And this is something I'm going to try to exploit this year. These lines on the women's fights for totals are skewed so much because it's a women's fight. When I get a situation where either woman in the other woman's world is screwed, I'm going with the under. So I'm very, very interested when it comes out. Fight doesn't go the distance. This under 2.5, either Silva snatches up a submission or she's on the bottom of Jasmin taking elbows for 20 minutes.
Okay? I like this. I like this angle.
At plus 240, this is a flyer that I will have in my pocket. This is an angle I'll try to exploit this year. Also, look, even sometimes fighters just go under. Mayra Bueno Silva's last fight ends by a cut stoppage. I don't care how it ends, as long as it goes under and I cash my ticket.
Yeah, and the Holly Holm fight ended.
Yeah,
her late just got ruled, no contest, and Pennington just does what Pennington does. So I like that angle. Mayra Bueno Silva is just, to me, is just a head case, man. Like she goes on this, winning streak, but come on, man, on Wu, Stephanie Egger and Lena Landsberg, like those have just aged horribly. So she gets listen, she pulled off a really nice submission against Holly Holm. I'll give her that, but she hasn't really looked that great against Pennington and Chiasson. Like, she gassed pretty good in the second round against Chiasson. I thought she was good in the first round, but then all of a sudden it was just kind of over. She gets taken down and, kind of obliterated on the ground. The cut was pretty nasty. So I just don't trust Mayra Bueno Silva, especially coming down a weight class. So I'm not. By the way, the drug test against Holly Holm said it was for her, ADD or whatever. It doesn't appear to be Hamdy level.
No,
she wasn't doing what Hamdy was doing. But
there has been 2 losses after that, though.
That's what I was going to say. But she also lost a man in Fury. I mean, she's losing to some pretty good fighters here. My pick is going to be Jasmin, but I'm certainly not parlaying it. I like where you're going with the under on that one at the plus 240. That's a good one. Speaking of unders, Terrance McKinney, Damir Hadzovic. I mean, this guy, Terrance McKinney, it's just round one, round two. I mean, it's just always under. Does it go under again against Hadzovic, who's older, 14-7, and who I will just freely admit I had absolutely no clue he was still in the UFC. The last thing I expected to see was a Damir Hadzovic fight. What do you think?
We've seen a rash of this lately where these older guys who've taken some time off, they come to weigh-ins, and damn, do they look good on the scales. Not insinuating anything, maybe a little bit.
Barcelos, Raoni
Barcelos,
somehow going 3 full rounds against
what else?
Against Peyton Talbot.
3 full rounds of blitzkrieg cardio out of nowhere. Santiago Ponzinibbio now has a chin and cardio.
Yeah,
to outlast Carlson Harris and knockout power at the end of a fight. Not saying any accusations, but let's just say that the testing pool is very different this year. So we can see that with Damir. Is it an under? Yeah, of course it's an under. It's a Terrance McKinney fight. Problem is the books are sharp to it. So you're going to have to plant your flag on the under 1.5. I think if McKinney is smart, he takes this man down and he chokes him unconscious. It's a pretty simple path to victory here. Look, I think the last McKinney fight, we had mentioned this in our breakdown. You literally have to have your lines open and you have to place your bet 2.5 minutes before you want to place it. So if you're watching this fight and you see Terrance dominating 1.5 minutes in, you almost have to pull the trigger.
You have to fire on Damir. Yes.
You have to. It has to be so early because your broadcast is behind. And I believe the last fight, he was winning Was it the last? Not the one he got knocked out in 7 seconds. The one before it.
Well,
he was winning the fight, but the line kept going against him. Like, because they were
He-
literally all they're worried about is the clock. That's it. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter who wins. So you have to be early with this. Personally,
they knew his cardio
Yeah.
was not going to hold up, despite the fact he was like on top.
Yep.
Or something.
Yeah, he was crushing him, and it was gone. So
I think it was Sadikov. I think
maybe that was the one.
Sadikov on that one.
Well, it definitely wasn't the Bonfim fight.
No, it wasn't.
No. That one.
No.
I do think that McKinney is they've basically found the one fighter that he could beat on the roster. I think he gets it done. Am I going to bet on Terrance McKinney as a favorite? Hell freaking no. Never in my life. Fight doesn't start round 3. That's a parlay piece. Under 2.5. That's a parlay piece. Fight doesn't start round 2. Could also be a parlay piece. The 1.5 is playable. I mean, just kind of base it off the cardio. That's all I got, man.
All right. Yeah, I don't think I have a whole lot to add to it. I mean, Hadzovic, you're right. We haven't seen him forever. Why is he taking this? Well, I can only think of one reason why he would think he would be ready for a fight against a guy like Terrance McKinney. I'm with you. I will wait and see him on the scales. But I will tell you this. After sitting here and saying, don't be surprised if Barcelos gives Peyton Talbot a lot of trouble, and then he goes out there and beats him with his new doctor.
Mm-hmm.
If Damir looks amazing on the scales, I am taking a shot because Terrance McKinney is kill or be killed, and I've seen his fights look like coin flips because you don't know what's going to happen. So I'll wait and see what Damir looks like on the scales. Shamil Gaziev and Thomas Petersen. I'll go first. I really like Shamil Gaziev over Thomas Petersen, and then I watched an interview with Thomas earlier today, and now I like it even more. So Gaziev's interesting case. He's 13-1 as a pro. Looked great in his contender series. Just got the quick finish over an undersized guy. Did what he should do. Came in against Martin Budai and just annihilated him on the feet. I mean, this fight lasted 6 minutes, and it was Martin Budai up against the fence with Gaziev elbowing him, and it was a nasty cut. Now I know it's Martin Budai, but whatever. And then he saves in his second UFC fight. He saves a main event. Rosenstrike is training for 5 rounds, and it just happens that Gaziev is the only one left. So he comes in at the last second, and Gaziev gets tired in round 4. Now, no, I'm sorry, he gets tired early, but finished in round 4. But it was because of vision, like he couldn't see. I mean, he did UFC a favor with this fight being elevated into the main event status, and he didn't have to take on Rosenstrike. We always say that when fighters do this, they get in the good graces of UFC, and UFC says, we'll take care of you. Thanks very much for saving that fight. So they give him Dante Mays, which is a terrible matchup because Mays is older and can't stop takedowns. Gaziev just takes him down at will, lays on top of him, cruises to an easy win. And you have this Thomas Petersen, who we have not been impressed with Petersen since his contender series. This guy, he beat Chandler Cole, is awful. Mm-hmm. And he couldn't even get him in the first round. Loses to Pogues, like we talked about, and then he barely beats Usman, except at the end of that fight, one man was bleeding profusely and was bruised on the face, and it wasn't Usman. It was Petersen. This guy doesn't have good striking defense. He's billed as a wrestler. He ain't taking Gaziev down. Gaziev's not like an amazing wrestler. Petersen is not taking Gaziev down. In fact, Petersen took down Usman, I believe it was in the second round. Usman just got right back up. And he took him down right at the end of the third round, and that probably sealed it for him. But Gaziev was way bigger than Petersen. I think Gaziev is going to be too big. Petersen's striking defense is really terrible, and I don't think his striking is good. I don't think Gaziev is going to be scared at all of him. I think this is Gaziev in another kind of a UFC, like, thanks for the Rosenstrike thing. Here's your second gift. Go get him, champ. When I listened to Thomas Petersen today, Jim, just like he was talking about how last fight just completely changed his outlook. And when he went in against Jamal Pogues, he was worried about not losing. But Usman that was where he was really trying to win. And that was where he's like, that's when I realized, you got to go all in and and I was like, that was your all in? That was your big time aggressive? I was like, no chance that I'm betting on this guy. It's Gaziev, and it's probably Gaziev by finish. I don't know if you have any hot takes.
Well, that's an interesting development that you came across there, because I agree. If that's your best, time to start looking for another career, because you're not going to last long. And then again, maybe you will last long in this heavyweight division. Not the best out there. Look, this is going to be a big brother fight. I think Shamil is literally going to big brother Thomas Petersen. He's going to be stronger in the clinch. The cage grappling could absolutely be miserable for Thomas Petersen. This big, hairy, sweaty man is going to lean on him and drive his face into the cage and just pitter patter. The same thing he did against Budai, just stay in his face. Stay in his face once he's hurt. I don't put a lot of faith in the junior college wrestling title of Thomas Petersen. I think that is a big look. I never wrestled. Props to him for winning it, but I just refuse to believe that a junior college championship is something to hang your hat on going into MMA. It's a different ball game. And look, there's the levels to champions, just like there's levels to black belt. So there's bullshit black belts and there's bullshit championships. And I just can't put any stock in it. It's Shamil Gaziev for me as well. I think this is another gift. We'll probably see Shamil in a tougher fight next. And I think that's going to be the time we're going to try to get him again.
Agreed. Muhammad Naimov and Kaan Ofli. I will just say, Ofli to me is awfully bad. awfully bad. This yeah. I can't believe nobody's made that joke. I've been listening to other podcasts and videos. I was like, really? No one's gonna do the Ofli joke? So Ofli goes on The Ultimate Fighter, and then he fights Myron Santos. And to say he wasn't competitive in this fight would be an understatement. I mean, he lost everywhere. And then the coup de grace, he just gets blasted in the second round. Jim, he couldn't stop leg kicks. He couldn't stop punches. He couldn't get any type of offense going at all. It was non-competitive. And I think Naimov, I don't want to say runs through him, because that's not really what Naimov does. But this is a guy who, he cost us money when he knocked out Jamie Malarkey. Thank you very much, Jamie Malarkey. But I'm going to give him credit. He took this fight against Malarkey on short notice, because when UFC calls, you always say yes. And he was losing until he wasn't. So give him credit, man. He showed toughness, and he gets the knockout. Then he beats Nathaniel Wood. Now, he did, without steroids, it was about as bad at cheating as you could get. I can't believe he didn't get DQ'd at some point. I mean, there were fence grabs. I believe there were shots to the balls. I know there was a grabbing of the shorts. I remember this one because we were laughing at Naimov getting away with everything. But he beat Nathaniel Wood, which is a really good win. Eric Silva, you can't put too much into that injury right off the bat. But Felipe Lima, he does great in the first round against Felipe Lima. It's tied going into the third. And I like Felipe Lima. I think Felipe Lima's decent. Naimov, it goes down as a rear naked choke. He tried to grab Lina from the back, and it was just one of those where he just slipped off. Like, if he does that move in the first round when they're dry, he probably doesn't slip off. He just slips off, and it's just right there. Lima grabs the neck, and it's over. I didn't think it was a sloppy move. I didn't think it was a huge mistake. I didn't think it was tired or anything. It was just, one of those things. And here's what I will go back to. I think Felipe Lima runs through Ofli. I think he submits him in the first round. So Naimov's actually going to have a little bit of a size advantage. His striking isn't great. It's not going to need to be. He's going to wrestle, and I think I don't know if he finds the finish, but if Ofli is as awfully bad as he was in his first fight, this is Naimov who's going to finish him. So it's a great parlay piece. Maybe Naimov by finish when the props come out on that one. What do you think?
I do think he finds the finish. I very much do. He did the definition of what diving into a submission looks like. That's the definition of it. That's how he got caught against Lima. He literally fell into a submission. It happens. Who did we see recently that was doing ground and pound from the top and fell into an
Tempura. Well,
Tabora, yes, Tabora over.
falls into the armbar.
Literally gave him his arm to submit him. It just happens. I don't think Ofli's that good, man. He is pretty much, like I like to say, 35 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour school zone. The whole fight, his whole skill set. He's not going to turn it up. He's not going to fall off a cliff, but he's just not that good. And again, read the tea leaves, folks. Everyone who's mad about the Paul Hughes fight, you bet on an Irishman in Saudi Arabia. You did that. We are where Naimov's family is. So if this goes to decision, who's getting the decision? It's going to be Naimov. It's not going to be Ofli. So I am all over the narrative of this. And we have to remember this with UFC. When they go over to Saudi Arabia, they get their hometown guys. And it's smart marketing. We can't complain about it. Use it to your advantage. So give me Naimov. I think he finishes Ofli in the second. I think he's just going to beat him up. He hits hard. He hits like a truck, and Ofli gets hit. He got hit by Myron Santos. I think he's going down.
I figured out a great way to increase the comments in our comment section. Paul Hughes lost outright. Easily. He got his ass kicked. All right, moving on to Ferris. That'll take care of getting some traffic in the comment section. Ziam over Mike Davis here, Jim. These guys are interesting. I'm excited on your take. What do you think of this fight?
Okay. What do we do with Mike Davis? The guy, you want to bet on him. You love the skill set, but he's like the king of red flags that he just marches right through, and he just keeps winning.
You're right. It's a
we
great
say this
way
all the time. Like, we may not like things about fighters, but the dude just keeps winning. Sorry. Again, use it to your advantage. All right. Natan Levy's not a great fighter. Slava's not a great fighter. Mason Jones is a good fighter, and he'll be back in the UFC at some point. Thomas Gifford, not the best fighter, but the guy just strings together wins. He's got a great balanced skill set. Here's where I ended up on this. I did a little Instagram stalking on Mike Davis. We have a powerful, powerful message from Mike Davis leading into this fight. He's talking about how he was kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out all these years. Now he's figured out I have to be in. Like, something keeps pulling me back. I want to quit. I have to be in. So he's in. If he's in and committed, I'm in. I'm all in on Mike Davis. So I love Mike Davis over for Ziam. The knockout over Matt Frivola, everyone's going to remember, and they're going to think he's some murderous power puncher and knockout artist. When the bottom line is, we have all overestimated Matt Frivola. Matt Frivola is not that good. Okay? He's another meathead, Renzo Gracie fighter that is a brawler. If he would just wrestle,
yeah,
which is his base, he maybe wouldn't have gotten knocked out so bad. So I really don't put a lot of faith in Ziam his last couple fights. I think this is Mike Davis by decision, possibly submission. He most certainly, if he gets his wrestling going, can submit Ziam. And Ziam's due. He's still not a completed fighter. 4 wins in a row, he's due for a loss.
I like it.
You lost to Terrance McKinney.
Yeah, I've enjoyed watching how much better Ziam has gotten. I will say that. Like, losing to Terrance McKinney, gets Figlock, and then Jai Herbert. That's a good win there. Mm-hmm. And Claudio Puelles, like, what do you? He's such a weird fighter. Like, Dan Hooker figured it out, but I did like the Frivola fight. Just the knee was a beautiful knee to the head, but it was leading up to it. It feels like he's just getting tougher. It feels like he's getting stronger and a little bit more confident in there. But I'm with you. I like Mike Davis. I like betting on Mike Davis. He's had injuries, but this is why you see him barely fight. But when he does, man, he looks good. And I mean, I don't see a weakness. That's the other thing. Is it striking elite in the top tier? No, but it's really good. Is the striking defense bad? No, absolutely not. Wrestling is good. He showed he can submit Natan Levy. And Natan Levy's not great, but Natan Levy's better on the ground than he is on the feet.
He's a survivor.
Yeah, he's a survivor.
Yeah.
So to finish him, I think that's pretty good. I'm with you on Mike Davis. I like Mike Davis. I've made money betting on him, and he's really given me no reason to be off of him. And again, you're right. This overreaction to Ziam knocking out Frivola, I just don't see Mike Davis putting himself in that position. So I think there's going to be some takedowns from Davis and some controlled time, and in the end, he kind of squeaks it out. Davis by decision for me in that one. Saeed Nurmagomedov. We have another Nurmagomedov. God, how many of these guys are there? Against our boy Vinicius Oliveira. Would you come up with in this fight?
Well, this is a different Nurmagomedov. This isn't relationship Nurmagomedov Khabib. They're not siblings, relatives, at nothing. However, he fights like his name sounds. So I mean,
Yeah.
more the style is a beat. Was nervous about this fight to start. I really was like, I don't know. I don't know why I had it in my head that Saeed wasn't as good as everybody thought he was. And then I went back and I looked at his record and looked at his tape and like, why do we not like this guy again? Why does everyone continue to doubt him? It's very, very strange to think about that. You know, the loss to Jonathan Martinez, if I remember correctly, that was a close fight. It says unanimous, but it was a close fight. Other than that, this man just gets the job done. He's got the well-rounded skill set. His striking is good enough. And when we come down to brass tacks here, I look to fade the wrong fighter at the beginning of this. We should be looking to fade Vinicius Oliveira because you'll look down his record and you'll look at this Ricky Simone fight. Man, unanimous. He looked so great against Ricky Simone. Ricky Simone was an absolute shell of himself in that fight. And
I still say hurt. I
100% hurt.
still say there was an injury.
100% hurt. Well, I don't care what anybody says. A single ankle wrap, a heavy ankle wrap. Keep in mind, remember, that wasn't like a sleeve. That thing had multiple layers of tape on it. We knew a minute in that Ricky was toast. He was so hurt. So, and was it that one or was it the Sopaj fight where he hurt his leg as well?
No, it was that one because we were like,
right?
we were like, Ricky Simon's hurt. Ricky Simone's hurt. Let's bet on Oliveira. We bet on Oliveira. Then Oliveira like hurts his leg, and we're like, oh God. But Oliveira ended up pulling it out. It was one of our bigger live betting opportunities, and it was great because it was like the first fight of the evening. So we were just like, we don't need a live bet anymore.
After seeing that, the Sopaj fight, this is where I landed, really wanting to fade Oliveira. We just saw Sopaj on a full training camp. Guess what happened? Got tired. So it wasn't that it was short notice. It's Sopaj isn't that great, guys. He's just not. He's not that great. So I think his wins are a little bit fraudulent, and the dude's due to be beat. He screws around in the octagon. He clowns around. And against a Russian with the last name Nurmagomedov, the last thing you want to do is give them any openings. And he is going to provide 2 to 3 openings in this fight that are going to get him taken down or held against the cage. Give me Saeed Nurmagomedov. I think he's parlayable with whatever you want. This has become one of my more confident plays on the card is Saeed.
Well, this is interesting because I'm going the complete opposite.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I like Oliveira.
Head to head.
Yeah, I just found some holes in Saeed Nurmagomedov. Like, Gafarov's terrible. He did what he should, but Gafarov's awful. This loss to Jonathan Martinez is a little bit concerning because Martinez can kick and he can strike from distance. If you remember, I believe this was the fight where it goes down as a win. He was losing every second of that fight until he got the submission.
Yep.
If he doesn't get that crazy submission, that goes down as a loss. And then you're looking at beating guys like Cody Stamen and Douglas Silva, Andrade. I just don't think he's as terrifying as the other guys. And the fact is, when I looked at Ricky Simone against Oliveira did a great job stuffing the initial takedown. What surprised us was that Simone didn't do the chain wrestling. And that's what Ricky Simone does. He like shoots to set up the next one. It's like, I'm going to shoot, I'm going to get you against the fence, and then like we'll take you down. He would just give up on it. But I had to give credit to Oliveira. He was better with the takedown defense than I remembered in that one. He was able to shove him off a lot. Oliveira fights with his hands down. He's cocky. He's got so much more power than Saeed. That he does. I'm going to take a little bit of a chance on Oliveira here that Saeed just hasn't really fought anybody that's going to throw like this. And if he can stuff a couple of those takedowns early and make this kind of on the feet, he's going to be the guy that's in control. So I'll take a sprinkle on Oliveira. I love his upside. I'm not sold on Saeed's upside here. What is he? How old is he? Yeah, he's in his 30s, man. Mm-hmm. Starting to get there. He's not old by any stretch, but I'm just wondering, you're 32, you've been in the UFC forever, and you're fighting Gafurov at this point. Like, come on, man. You should be fighting for titles. So I'll go with Oliveira here. That'll be fun. We'll go.
It's a fun head-to-head here.
Yeah, this will be a good one. This will be a good one. So we're getting down to the last few fights on the card here, guys. Just want to tell you guys, just today we started a 30-day all access. We discounted down to $6.63. We started off the year not great, and man, have we turned this bad boy around. So as of Wednesday, we are now 24-3 in the last 27 plays. We just crossed over 30 units in that run. We did a deep dive. What sports are working, what sports are not. And one of the sports that's working is UFC. We're number one at Wager Talk in MMA this year. We have a 5% best bet that goes off on Saturday. But along with the 30 days, you're going to get all of our sports. NBA, NHL, golf, darts. We have the Premier League starting next week, so you're going to get a couple weeks of darts plays included in that. All these sports. I know that the Super Bowl is here. College football is over. I'm telling you guys, this is where we thrive. This is where we do our damage, is in these sports that are off the path. They're off the beaten path, and they're off of everyone's radar. That's when we come in. We're number one the last 2 years. So take advantage of that. It's discounted down to $6.63. Again, we've got our Super Bowl prop pack that is up. Turn to profit every single week of the playoffs, 8-2 in playoffs. So really proud about that. And again, our 5% UFC best bet is up. All the plays that we release to clients, we bet with our own money. We've been building bankrolls for years. So invite you guys to join us here and take advantage of that 30 days over at my page, wt.buzz/AL.
I would love to say, do us a favor. Do yourselves a favor. In the morning, don't buy a coffee. Fill a thermos. Save yourself $6.63 a day. And buy the package. You'll be happy in 30 days. Come join us.
I agree, man. I agree. The last 8-9 days have just been absolutely fantastic. We ran a 7-day special last week. If you bought that 7 days pass last week, and I know you're watching, go get the 30 days. We're not going to hit 90% of our bets, but we're going to make you guys money. So it's a great point, Jim. $6.63 a day. Not bad to build the bankroll. Let's move to Sergei Pavlovich and the aforementioned Rosenstrike. Make a Rosenstrike here. Split against Tai Tuivasa?
Well, you got to throw that split out.
Why?
Because that was the obnoxious judge.
Oh, that's right.
She was the only one in the world.
Okay, that's right.
Like, she was removed from the arena after this fight. Don't forget.
I forgot.
So don't forget that. Okay?
I forgot about that.
This is why you have to do your research, guys. You never know what's going to come up on Tapology.
It's not a split.
Go split. Like, yeah. She had a 30-27 tie.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
30-27.
Okay. All right. So
we got to stay away from that. But go ahead,
okay.
Proceed.
So it beats Gaziev in that weirdo fight main event. Jailton Almeida loses, but feels like everyone. Then he's beating Chris Daukaus. Okay. Loses to Volkov, loses to Blades. Augusto Sakai. I mean, you kind of got to hunt before you find a. I mean, it's Tai Tuivasa, who if you guys have been watching me, I think it sucks. I think Tai Tuivasa is awful. And then now you got Pavlovich, who coming in off of 2 losses. One of them's against Aspinall, so what are you going to do? And he just ran up against Volkov, who had the game plan to beat him. I mean, the game plan was so brilliant. It was a boring fight, but Volkov used his length, his reach. Those kicks were great, and it really showed how slow Pavlovich is on the outside when they're dancing around the outside. Can Rosenstrike do it? He's not built like Volkov. Jim, I think eventually Pavlovich finds the chin and gets him out of there. So I think this is a nice rebound spot for Pavlovich. I'm surprised by the line because minus 310 is like, oh, he's going to obliterate him.
Yeah.
That terrifies me. But I do think it's Pavlovich by KO with these lines. I'm just not sure you can do much with it. I'm not putting minus 310 into a parlay on Pavlovich. I do get the win, but it's unbettable for me. What do you think?
These are two of my most hated fighters.
Okay.
Believe it, of anywhere for my hatred to be, this is where it lies. I think they're both extremely fraudulent. Their records are what they are because they've been just set up perfectly in their matchups. You know, as soon as Pavlovich takes up that Tom Aspinall against Sergei, that's one of the biggest bets of my life. I could not believe the argument for Sergei against Tom freaking Aspinall.
I'm with you.
I mean, give me a freaking break. This guy has no striking technique. It's wide, swinging, bruising, punching. And I hear he's got a wrestling game. Well, he can wrestle. Well, all right, great. When are you going to use it? Use it against Shamil. Okay, great. Jairzinho, the most boring heavyweight.
Well, he's up there, huh?
Could you name me a more boring heavyweight? Could you name me another heavyweight that can turn a 5-round fight into 2 bathroom breaks?
Blades has done that on occasion.
I mean, I just can't get behind either of these guys. I hate both of these guys watching them. I don't hate them as people. I just hate them as fighters. I'm unimpressed. I think it's Pavlovich. I hope it's Pavlovich knocking out Rosenstrike, or else we're going to see 3 rounds of the most boring fight that you could see on the night. So I will pick Pavlovich. I will pick Pavlovich by knockout. I'm not betting this fight whatsoever. Hate this fight.
All right, moving on to a fight. I think you are betting. Shara Bullet, Nurmagomedov. Okay, Michael, Venom Page. Floor is yours. What do you think?
Okay, heard the arguments both sides. Shara is not as good as we all think he is. He's been built up. He's got the marketing machine behind him. Andy, do you happen to remember in Bellator, we had a fighter with a physical disability. Do you remember what that physical disability was?
Oh man. I feel like you're setting me up for a joke, like his brain or his fight IQ.
No, there are some of them, but we had a one-armed fighter. Nick Newell. You remember Nick Newell?
Oh, I do remember
he had his no arm from here down, right?
Yes. I bet on a guy with an amputee. He got a pro fight and his leg from the knee down was cut off. I bet against him. Yeah, he lost.
So you bet against those guys. No matter how you slice this, Shara has one eye. One eye. He has massive blind spots and massive holes that nobody has been able to take advantage. Now, the reason why nobody's been able to take advantage is Shara has been fed some pretty bad fighters here. I mean, pretty. Bruno Silva has looked like an absolute head case for years now. Anton Tricoli just got cut. Garbage. Michael Zaechuk just got submitted by Kevin Holland, who we just saw get choked out in milliseconds, right? Armin Petrosian gasses. That is a good win. It is a good win. But the double spinning back fist like it's a special move or a planned out shot, it's something that you throw in the heat of the moment. And bottom line is 9 times out of 10, that does not result in a knockout. What it results in is a takedown for the other guy. Because your back is turned too long. You cannot turn your back to your opponent that long. Armin Petrosian's not looking for it. He's gassed. He gets the knockout. Not discrediting Shara. The problem is this man leaves so many holes because of his physical disability that a sniper like Michael Page is going to know that he needs to throw everything set up to come from his left side. Michael's a switch fighter. He can fight in both stances, right and left. He can set everything up to come right at that blind spot. I know Shara's the hype train. I know it's in Saudi Arabia. I know they'd rather have him win and please the Saudis than MVP. but I don't like this fight for Shara one bit. I think this is a stylistic nightmare. Shara is not a big knockout guy, and the oohs and ahs are going to be coming from Michael Page's strikes, not from Shara's. When Page hits him from 8 feet away, you're going to hear the crowd go, "Oh, he will win the oohs and ahs." Whether it lands or not, you will hear it. So I love Michael Venom Page. I love him at this number. Shara is not going to be undefeated in the UFC. He is not going to retire undefeated. And unfortunately for him, I think he ran into a seasoned veteran striker that is going to exploit these holes. So you can guess where my money's at on this one.
Yeah, you like Page. I just worry that Page doesn't throw enough volume, and Shar is just nonstop moving. Whether it's effective or not, whether his strikes are effective or not, it's just movement, it's activity. And Page, I just watched him stand and pick his spots, and he said two guys that played along with him. He loses to Ian Gary, but man, what a horrifically boring fight that was. Gary ends up, working grappling and and wrestling, and I don't think Shara is going to be doing that. And then, yeah, you're right. This Kevin Holland, I think a lot of people like Kevin Holland, but man, sadly, that's just not looking like a great win, even though he does get it. I'm not going to bet one way or the other because I can't pull the trigger on either side. My only concern with Page is his lack of volume. And in that area in the world, if Shara throws 50 strikes in a round and Page only throws 25, I think they're just going to give it to Magomedov. If this was in Vegas, I'd probably change my mind. I'd probably be with you on Page, but I think the hometown cooking is there. Page is going to have to win emphatically. Like, he's going to have to dominate a couple rounds over there. I just that's my thought on it. So stylistically, you're right. This is the worst one that Shara's faced because nobody moves like Page. And in fact, his Armin was winning the first round. I thought
He was.
I went back and watched. I thought he was doing a lot of damage there, but I thought Armin was throwing a pretty good volume, and maybe that's why he got tired. So Page is going to have to figure out how to overcome the volume advantage. It's got to be accuracy. It's got to be with some big time power shots. So
this fight's apples and oranges. It's volume
really is
versus big explosive pinpoint movements.
Yeah. All right, moving to the main event here: Israel Adesanya and Nasruddin Imavov. After this, we will do our parlay buster and our woulda, coulda, shoulda. All right, main event: Izzy Imavov. Who you got?
Ooh, here's what I do got. Fight goes distance. Let's start with that right there. I think that's totally parlayable. Okay, it's got to be a decision. I don't see Imavov getting knocked out. I don't see Izzy getting knocked out unless he really gasses late. So right there, I like this fight to go to decision. That being said, now, Izzy's just too low volume for me at this point in his career. And I know that Imavov doesn't push a big pace. I've kind of thought about this fight all week, really. We've been talking about this fight for 7-8 days now. I'm kind of landing on Imavov. I'm landing on Imavov by decision. I think he ekes out a decision over Izzy just with the more volume. Izzy throws so much feints. Now, if you're watching this fight and you see either guy biting on feints, that's the guy you want to bet. Because whoever's biting on the feints and biting on the movement, their cardio will go first. The anxiety level will be higher for them. Both of these guys fight the same way. It's going to be a chess match. Imavov could mix in the wrestling, but I don't think he's going to be able to hold Izzy down or submit him like Drickus did. So I want to see who's leading the dance in this fight to start. Not willing to put my money on either side to start. Whoever's leading the dance by about a minute and a half into the second round, it's going to be a landslide. I don't see somebody coming back from this because at that point you've settled in and your opponent pretty much has accepted the style of the fight that it's going to be. It's what we see with Sean Strickland all the time. 2 minutes into the second round, you're like, It's a Strickland fight, isn't it?
Yeah,
It is.
Well, how does he have this
Crap.
grappler standing in the middle of the ring boxing? How did he do it? It doesn't
Every time you're like, he did it again. I don't know how. Did he pay him off? How are they standing in the middle? So give me a Imavov by decision. More than anything, I think the overs are all parlayable. You could take, round 2, round 3, round 4, put them with something else and get a pretty decent number and just sit back and hope nobody gets knocked out.
I'm on Imavov all day. This is a fate of Adesanya. I've said this just all the time. In the moment when he knocked out Alex Pereira, I just thought this is his peak. It doesn't get any better for Israel Adesanya. What more does he have to prove? He's held the belt for how many times? He's beaten everybody. Loses to Pereira, comes back, and he gets to finish. I thought it was a supernatural knockout moment where he summoned the energy of the gods to knock him out. And I just thought that just feels like your energy bar is on empty, and I'm not sure how he comes back from it. I gladly bet against him in the next 2 fights, and sure enough, he got rocked against Strickland. I mean, I know he made it, but Sean Strickland even says I don't hit that hard, and he's a volume guy. Doing great against Duplessis, and he gets exhausted. And just like, when have we seen him get completely exhausted? It just doesn't happen. He's on the backside of his career, and what an incredible, insane career it's been. But at some point, you've just used too much energy. And pull up. I should have done this here. Just look at what his body looked like against DDP compared to what it looked like against Whitaker.
Yeah.
Or Cannonier. I'm not saying anything, but I'm just saying it just looks like he's not as it's not that he looks like it. No, he's not as chiseled. He is not as strong.
He's in his 30s.
He's not as ripped. He just yeah. So I've faded Izzy when these guys and these females at the top, when they start to fall off, it is just ridiculously quick. Like, seriously, how is Izzy going to make his way back? It's too much. You got Imavov, who, he's kind of on his way up. Decent win against Lidze, gets a win against Cannonier. His fight against Brendan Allen, he lost the first round, and he came back and got the next 2. Yeah, his cardio is not that great, but honestly, neither is Adesanya. And is Adesanya the guy that's really going to push the pace?
No.
Like, if you got a real cardio problem and you're fighting Merab, you're in big trouble. But you got a cardio problem, you're fighting Izzy. Izzy's never pushing the pace where you're just completely exhausted unless you do something stupid. So it's Imavov. I think the striking, Izzy will have probably more pinpoint, but I don't think he's going to be moving forward. I think he's going to sit against fence. I think Imavov is going to be able to push the grappling and maybe get some takedowns. And I just think Adesanya is going to be way too low volume and that not nearly as interested as Imavov is. I mean, think about it. Israel Adesanya in the main event of a fight night overseas, like, how the mighty have fallen. So I'll happily bet against Adesanya. If he loses this one, they give him another one, I'll be right there, first one in line, betting against him again. He would need to put on an insane performance for me to ever believe into betting on him again. So I believe the end is near for him. So
why do you think he got this fight? Because this is a little bit of a tea leaf situation for me here. Who are they going to have in the main event for Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like it kind of popped up out of nowhere, this fight, in my opinion. It wasn't.
I had no idea he was.
It's not something I was looking forward to. I don't think anybody was looking forward to this one and saying that's got to be the next fight. It's a very odd booking. A very odd booking.
Yeah. So again, it just feels like this is not a fight on like what hype have you heard? You haven't heard a peep out of this one. So for me, it's Imavov at plus money. I'm either completely wrong or the book's completely wrong. I thought Imavov was going to open up as a favorite. I thought he was going to be the sizable minus 180. I can't believe we're still believing in Israel Adesanya after what we've seen the last couple times. So, all right, Parlay Buster and woulda, coulda, shoulda. I had some trouble with this one. We'll start with Parlay Buster. What do you think is your Parlay Buster here, Jim?
Parlay Buster. So what is going to be parlayed?
So the Parlay Buster, the Parlay Buster is what we think everyone is going to put in their parlays, and it's going to lose. Like we talked about Peyton Talbot, and Peyton Talbot murdered everybody's parlays. So we're trying to find what's a play everyone's going to put in there, and we think it's got a real chance to lose. What do you think?
I'm going to go with Terrance McKinney at minus 500.
That's a great
Because
one.
if you don't want to play a finish prop, you're going to have to parlay McKinney. And I think that a lot of the average recreational bettors are going to look at that 500 and say, oh, this guy's supposed to win. And then 1 minute and 42 seconds into the fight,
why is my guy huffing and puffing?
This guy sucks.
The fight just started. Why is he tired?
Yep. So because of that price tag, he will be my parlay buster.
Okay. All right. I like where you're going with that. I don't think Saeed Nurmagomedov is going to be a real popular play. So I can't put him at parlay buster just because of that. I do think Adesanya is going to be popular.
Sure.
I think people are going to be all over Adesanya, and I think they're going to put Adesanya with someone like McKinney. Don't be surprised if Adesanya is tied to all these parlays, and in the main event, when you can't, go back when you don't have more fights ahead of you, don't be surprised if Adesanya just looks terrible, and all of a sudden in round 4, the announcers are like, "Izzy needs a finish here." And he's too tired to get a finish. So I have Israel Adesanya as the parlay buster. All right, woulda, coulda, shoulda. This is the bet where at the end of the night you're going, man, why didn't we lay the farm on that one? So what's going to be the pick that you think is just the most obvious bettable one?
I'll go Terrance McKinney when I finish. No, I'm kidding. We'll do them both. But it is. Am I wrong though? It could be. No, in all seriousness, woulda, coulda, shoulda, because of the number. For me, it has to be Michael Page.
Michael Page
with one eye at plus money. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I can't get around the fact that this veteran striker who has picked people apart from range is now fighting a gentleman with one eye. So, I mean, I think you could look very upset after this fight and be like, why didn't I bet against a guy that can only see to the left?
Yeah. I see your guy with one eyeball, and I raise you a guy that has 3 professional fights and 2 positive drug tests. Think about that. This man has 3 MMA wins and 2 positive drug tests. And at the end of the day, when Hamdy is not on the sauce and he's promoting his restaurants leading up into the fight, and we're sitting there going, why didn't we bet on the 200 and whatever pound Jamal Pogues, who's got much better striking, who is literally so big that Hamdy can't take him down. And we haven't seen him fight in 2.5 years. So I think we could be around 3, and Pogues has just wore this guy down, and Hamdy maybe gets finished. But at even money, yeah, I'll take Jamal Pogues all day on this. I'm still mad about that. It was years ago, and I'm still
We're
mad.
never gonna get over it.
No, it's like how did this guy 3-0 have so much energy in the third round? Oh, that's how. That's
Jamal
how.
has a chance to make us really happy really early on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Really early.
Yeah.
There's your parlay right there. Jamal Pogues and MVP. Here's your 2
woulda, coulda, shoulda. Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for it. Thanks so much for joining us. Don't forget to take advantage of that 30-day special, guys. Seriously, we can help build your bankroll. Like your bankroll is a business. Our bankrolls are businesses. We can build them together. Take advantage of that 30-day pass. All your plays get sent directly to your phone, directly to your email, so you can play exactly what we're playing. Up plus 208 units the last 2 years. And we're up over 30 units just in the last 8 days. So that's going to do it for us. Good luck on your plays, and we'll see everyone later.
Good luck on Saturday, guys.